Tim Pool does not understand censorship. Neither does the right or the left. Let's go through the last video Tim made and let's step through why he's wrong as we go.
From CNBC, a senator is introducing a bill that would blow up the business models for Facebook, YouTube, and other tech giants, and that is a terrible headline because that is absolutely not what is happening.
That is absolutely what is happening. A bill that would remove Section 230 will blow up YouTube, Facebook, and every other social media company. If you're being held responsible for the content that your commenters make, you're going to shut down the comments.
We can see for some reason there are many people in media who want to run to the defense of these big tech companies. Don't ask me why.
They're doing it because they support free speech. They want to be able to speak freely. They understand what it means to get government involved in regulating a business.
In my opinion, they are out of control, stealing our private data.
You uploaded your data to their service by voluntary means. They are not stealing anything from you.
Doing really bad things behind closed doors, all for profit.
Could you please explain what very bad things they are doing behind closed doors? Are they the very bad things of coding the next update? Whoa! And they're doing it for profit. Imagine a company working for profit. Tim Pool, he never makes profit. He gives all his money to charity.
It's causing massive damage to public discourse.
Is it causing massive damage? Or is not knowing the difference between political and economic power causing the problem?
Yet time and time again, we see people in media rushing to their defense, even though the New York Times has complained that Google has destroyed local journalism.
Tim's argument being, if your competition is defeating you, you should want to get the government involved so that they can no longer work. Just doesn't like the competition, I guess.
And has made billions off of their backs. The story we have today, Senator Josh Hawley is introducing legislation that will put restrictions on Section 230 protections.
A bill that would remove Section 230 is a bill that removes responsibility from the poster and it puts it onto the company of which the poster is using. If you remove Section 230, the company is now liable for the comment section. If they're not just the comment section, and like that's the comment section for in general of all websites, but the comment section of YouTube is the videos plus a comment section. YouTube is not responsible for its users. You cannot sue YouTube for the things Tim says. You should be able to sue Tim. Removing Section 230 would force YouTube to be liable for every single video that is posted to it. If you remove Section 230, YouTube will now have to ensure that each and every single one of its videos is up to snuff by its standards and the government's. It'll mean more censorship.
For those that aren't familiar, Section 230 essentially provides immunity to an online platform from liability based on what someone says on their site.
I didn't edit that. I just think the MK Ultra is kicking in on Tim.
But it basically works like this. If I own, say, the Wall Street Journal, and I publish something on the front page, you can sue the Wall Street Journal for that.
So, now let's ask ourselves, what does the Wall Street Journal do? The Wall Street Journal has an editor and an editor-in-chief and a bunch of people higher up that decide, hand select the content to ensure that they will not be sued. They are liable for what they put on. So now they have to hand select everything. If you make YouTube liable for each and everything that anyone puts on their website, they're going to have to hand select. Did you just reduce censorship or increase it? On their website, they're going to have to hand select. Did you just reduce censorship or increase it?
In their comments section, they're not responsible.
Yeah, and the comment section is because the people commenting are not members of that property. They are not individuals that work for the company. The company is not liable for people that do not work for them.
So when it comes to Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, etc., you can't sue YouTube because I say something. You have to come to me.
And he has a problem with that. He would prefer that you could sue YouTube for the things he says, I guess.
A lot of people are confusing Section 230 with a First Amendment defense.
They shouldn't. Those are two different things. Section 230 states that you are not liable for the things other people do while on your property. They are still responsible for themselves. It's not your fault that other people took actions that you have no choice in. Free speech has to do with what the government cannot do. The government is not allowed to censor you. The free speech aspect states that the government cannot impede on an individual's free speech. Whereas Section 230 states that a company is not liable for its customers' bad behavior.
Admittedly, I've done something similar in the past, but there is an interesting argument.
You're still doing it.
Section 230 grants immunity to these companies under the premise that they are platforms.
No. Section 230 grants them immunity because they are not responsible for other people's actions. That's it. It has nothing to do with a platform. What is a platform? A platform is a position one holds, or a stage. YouTube is not a stage. It is a website. It is a private, coded, intellectual property. It is property. You cannot force a private company to act against its will on its own property. They can do what they want. It has nothing to do with free speech.
That's the rhetoric. I'm not sure if that's legally what they're saying, but the idea is...
No, it's not legally what they're saying.
But the idea is, if AT&T, a phone company, were to remove people based on what they were saying, that's a serious violation. And
AT&T blocking you for saying something they don't like is not a free speech issue. It is a property issue. It is theft. They stole your money, and they stole the thing that your money bought. That's the problem. It has nothing to do with whether you're a platform or a publisher. It has to do whether or not you agreed to a certain term of service. If you agreed to them, such as, I can say what I want on your phone service, and I'll pay you for that service, and then they remove it from you, that's theft. If you go onto a website which is totally free and agree to the terms and services that you won't post certain things, and if you do, they can remove it, and then they remove it when they don't like it, you agreed to that. This has nothing to do with free speech. This has to do with property rights.
And they're not a platform, they're a publisher.
AT&T is not a publisher nor a platform. It is a phone provider. It is a service you pay for. Is a plumber a platform or a publisher? Well, on the plumber's vehicle, only the things he's allowed to write go on there. If someone else were to write on his van, he would remove it. Well, I guess that means he's a publisher. No, it's a fucking service. You do not have a right to their property. End of story.
They're taking an editorial stance. So a lot of people view Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Google, whatever, as a phone company.
Why would they do that? Why would anyone think YouTube, Facebook, Twitter is a phone company? They are websites. There are a variety of different types of websites. Information goes on it. Information can be read off it. That's it. There's nothing else. It's just a website. It's not a fucking phone company. It's not a fucking government platform. It's not a publisher of some editorial. It is a website where you upload videos or you watch videos that have been uploaded. That's it.
But these companies like to have it both ways. They like to simultaneously argue that they are not the speaker.
They are not the speaker. They are not the speaker. They are a group of people that operate a website that you can put information on.
It's important. We'll go to the law in a second. Section 230 says that a website will not be deemed to be the speaker of that content.
Correct. Now tell me why you want YouTube to be considered the speaker of other people's actions.
If they're legally removed from that, why are these companies using a First Amendment argument?
Because they have the First Amendment right to remove people from their property.
Their argument is that they can remove anything they want because they have no legal obligation to speak.
Correct. YouTube has no legal obligation to allow anyone to speak on their property. Their legal right is to be able to refuse service to anyone they don't wish to serve. That's their property rights. This has nothing to do with free speech. Free speech is a government issue.
And that's a First Amendment argument. I agree. But I also think regulation exists for a reason.
Of course you believe regulation exists for a fucking reason. You are a socialist. You like stealing things from other people. Of course you want to regulate. You don't like competition. You don't like success. Every time something gets too big, we have to get the government involved to steal half their stuff. Of course you think regulations are right.
And that when companies grow too large, something needs to be done about it. So here's what we're going to do.
Exactly. When a company grows too large, there's something we got to do about it. When someone gets too successful, we have to steal from them. We have to impugn them somehow. We have to put up barriers to make their success, the thing they earned, a punishment. We have to turn their success into a punishment because, we don't know how to make a website. I don't know how to make a website like YouTube. Therefore, YouTube has to be punished.
Protected First Amendment speech. And this is a mind-blowing comment they've given in response to this story.
Is it a mind-blowing comment? Or is it mind-blowing to someone who thinks that this is a free speech issue? If you understand it properly, you would understand that this is a property rights issue. They are a company with a property. You are coming onto their property and you are demanding services that they don't need to provide to you. Then you were demanding government involvement as if they were the government and that what they were doing to you was as bad as what the government can do to you. No, this is not mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing to someone who doesn't understand the issue. It's mind-blowing to someone who thinks this has to do with free speech. It is not mind-blowing if you actually understand that this has nothing to do with censorship. This has nothing to do with free speech. A private company does not have to uphold the Constitution. The government does. A private company cannot censor you. This is not a mind-blowing idea. It is only mind-blowing to someone who's an idiot and has no clue what he's talking about, or someone who is trying to manipulate you in order to progress social issues. Let's see which one he is.
I'll tell you what, man. I warned the Twitter people on the Joe Rogan podcast, regulation will come.
I warned you, if you didn't stop succeeding, we were going to come and we were going to take your things and put your family in a camp and kill you. I warned you.
And they were like, well, we know what they like and we know what we can do. No, you don't. I was right.
Is it really being right when your answer is just the obvious one? Is it so you're not wrong, but you're acting like you're some sort of prophet. Like this is some sort of brilliant idea that your mind could only come up with. No, yeah, socialists are going to come for you. They come for all the successful people. That's what they do. That's what makes them socialist. You succeed, they steal from you. It's not hard to come to the conclusion that they were coming to regulate, that they were coming to crush business. That's what they do.
And this is not the first time, nor will it be the last time.
The first time or last time of you being right, or the first time or last time of socialists coming to steal your stuff?
Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work.
This is where he plugs his Patreon, and fuck him. So here's my Patreon.
.com/donate if you'd like to support my work, because once again we're talking about censorship, and of course I'm directly criticizing the companies on which platform on whose platform I am using. So
do you hear the sound in his voice? That is someone who knows what they're doing is wrong. That is the sound of a weasel. That is a weaselly sound. That is someone who is saying, look, I'm trying to make money here. And the only way that I know how to make money is by profiting off of other people's efforts. And as I'm a socialist, I also like to shit on those people at the same time. And I don't like that they make money, but I need you to forget how bad this platform is for a moment, so you can listen to me shit on how bad this platform is, so that I can make a profit. That's a weasel. That's a socialist. That's Tim Pool in a nutshell.
Senator Josh Hawley, Republican. He's a well-known tech critic, and he introduced legislation on Wednesday that would remove the immunity big technology companies receive under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act of 1996.
If you remove Section 230, the company is now liable for the things people put on it, regardless of the fact that the people who provided the website did not agree, did not listen, did not want to finance. They're still going to be held legally responsible for the things other people post. That's what will happen, because the website, part of the website's feature, will be considered by the government to be anything on the website represents the website's point of view. So they're going to have to censor, or they're going to get sued. I don't know how that prevents YouTube from censoring when your entire goal now is to get them to censor everything in order to not get sued.
The CDA protects online platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and Google's YouTube from liability for the content users post. However,
this is a big however, though.
Companies will be able to earn immunity from the crackdown if they submit to biannual audits to prove their algorithms and content removal practices are politically neutral, which they absolutely will not be able to do because hate speech rules are not politically neutral.
So the bill has to, if the bill passes, then YouTube is responsible. And so what it's going to have to do is prove that it's politically neutral, which Tim states they are not. And how could they be? And therefore, they will be punished. So they're making it a law. They're removing a safety. They're removing property rights from private property owners in order to get the legal, in order to get the jurisdiction, in order to sue successful companies that have allowed for a more populist, more free speech movement to exist. The government, the big government, wants to now step in to attack big tech because big tech allowed big government to fail. And the big government doesn't want that no more. So they make a law that, well, they remove a safety by law that would force those people that they don't like to get sued. They're not intending to do something for the sake of good. They're intending to sue YouTube. And the only way to sue YouTube is to force them to be responsible for other people's actions by removing property rights, by removing their freedom. We've just sacrificed one freedom for another. And if you're sacrificing one freedom for another, you're not sacrificing for another. You are killing all of them. You cannot remove one right for the sake of another right, especially when that right isn't being implemented properly. The free speech has nothing to do with it. So you're trying to force a private company to act as a government agency, and when it doesn't, you sue it.
It would mean they'd have to remove those.
So Tim says, all right, let's put this in a corner. Tim says they will have to remove hateful comments.
But wait until you see the statement they issued where they said they do not want protected First Amendment speech on their platforms, which we'll get to in just a second.
Why would they want protected free speech rights on their platform? What that would mean is any single person that uses their property has the ability to say whatever they want, so long as it doesn't go into force or threats of force. So the company is now being held to a standard of the government. It is being, you are forcing. Free speech does not apply in a private property. Your home is your safe haven. Your home, your rules. Websites are property. They have house rules. They're called terms of services. You agreed to them. You selected, I agree. I agree that if I say something that the company is not legally responsible for, and the company does not want to hold that content on their property, they have a right to remove it. You want to remove their right to free speech and their right to property mostly. It is mostly a property issue. This has nothing really to do with free speech. You getting kicked off YouTube does not prevent you from going out on the street and speaking. It does not stop you from going to another website and speaking. It does not stop you from building another website to speak. It only removes you from their property. Going to Trump Tower to yell about how bad Trump is, and he kicks you out, even as he's the president and his company that he's put into a blind trust kicks you out. That is not Donald Trump kicking you out and ergo the government kicking you out. No, that was private property. You can go across the street and start yelling the same thing. You can go onto the street and start yelling the same thing. But you cannot do it inside their property. You can talk shit about YouTube all you want on Vimeo. And there's nothing that YouTube can do about that. If you want to talk shit about YouTube on YouTube, YouTube can remove you because it's their property. And you're wasting their electricity. You're wasting their server memory. You're wasting their time and energy. They can remove you. It's their property. Simple as that.
Just a second. The idea of limiting Section 230 immunity has earned bipartisan support in recent years as the...
Imagine that. Bipartisan support of government employees. The government is working together to overtake private businesses so that the big government can decide whether or not someone talking shit about big government should be censored or not. Who would have thought that politicians of all people would work together to crush businesses? It's mind-blowing, as Tim would say. Absolutely mind-blowing that there'd be bipartisan support of government employees wanting to stop people talking shit about government employees. And wanting to do it with force. Shocks me.
Companies have struggled to keep offensive and illegal content ranging from propaganda to foreign-influenced election meddling off their platforms. Repealing the immunity provision could force these...
Yeah, they want people to remove propaganda and ad campaigns that hurt their market. If it goes against the Democrats don't like it. If it goes against the Republicans don't like it. Both of them are teaming up together to get rid of things they don't like on the internet. And you support that? Because profit bad? Government theft good? I hate socialists.
Force these companies to use an editorial system where every piece of user-posted content would have to be vetted for illegal or libelous material before it's posted, instead relying on algorithms.
they would have to do an editorial. So they would have to, what is it Tim said? They would have to censor certain people?
Instead, relying on algorithms and human checkers to scan it after it was already online and had a chance to spread to millions of people. This is a terrible article, I want to say.
It's a terrible article because it just agreed with what he had to say, which was it will have to remove hateful speech in order to not get sued.
No, it won't do this.
Yes, it will do this. You said it would. I've already put it up here.
This would fundamentally alter the business models of companies that depend on huge volumes of user-generated content, including all the big social networks. What the law would do is one of two things.
Okay, so Tim says the law's going to do one of two things. Okay, so let's look at the first thing. We got him saying they will have to remove hateful content / no, they won't. What a terrible article. One or two things.
The argument being put forward is that either you are neutral in your enforcement of certain rules, or...
So you're either neutral in your enforcement of certain rules, i.e. you censor across the board,
or you are liable for what people say, as it should already be.
Or you're liable for what other people say, as it should already be. You should already be responsible for other people's actions because reasons.
Repealing the immunity provision could force that, sure.
Oh, it could. He's willing to admit it could. It won't, but it could. But what could it do?
What this could also do, this law specifically, is force these companies to recognize legally protected speech.
Tell me, Tim, how is it going to force a company to think about that issue? Seeing as how they're already the ones thinking about it and you're not. They have protected speech. They can say whatever they want, and they can have whatever they want representing them speak for them. If they don't want other people to speak for them, then they will be able to remove anyone that doesn't speak for them properly in order to fully grasp free speech. If they want to recognize it in others, you have to recognize it in themselves. It's not one or the other. They have free speech, and it's protected. And that protection allows them to say whatever they want or remove anyone that they want. Why does it allow them to remove people? Because it's their property. Because this isn't about free speech. You do not have free speech in someone else's property. That's not how it works. You have free speech out on the street. You cannot be arrested by the government for the things you say, unless it's a threat, a call for violence. Other than that, the government cannot arrest you. Any single other person can kick you out of their store, their home, their website. Neopets can block you for swearing. Is that censorship? No. It's their property. You agreed you weren't going to do that. It's in the terms and services.
Things they personally don't like, but who elected them to determine what we're allowed to talk about anyway?
No one elected them. That's the fucking point. They are a private company in which you have voluntarily joined in order to make money for yourself. That's it. I don't...
The provision, the law would put a restriction based on the size and revenue of the company, so it wouldn't affect smaller networks.
It only affects successful people. It wouldn't affect the small guy. Yet. It will affect the small guy when he gets too big. And when we remove all of the big guys, and there's nothing but little guys left, well, the biggest little guy will have to go. He will need to be regulated. This is antitrust law. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all of that, just like under antitrust laws, they aren't going to know what to do. They're going to be sued one way or the other. If they're too successful, they'll get sued. If they're not successful enough, they'll get sued. Why? Because, my free speech is supposed to be granted. Now this new website that's too small because YouTube is dead now won't be able to properly hold up my platform. So fucking stupid.
Which is a good idea. You don't want to put constraints on smaller businesses.
Why don't you want to put constraints on smaller businesses? Why do you only want to put constraints on big businesses? You just hate success. There's no reason to do it to one and not the other. If the rule is your website should support everyone's right to say whatever, then why are you only holding the successful to that standard? Why are you holding the people that are going to have a harder time upholding it? The more successful they are, the more users. The more users, the harder it is to edit. The more they have to edit, the less time they have for being successful. The less time they have for being successful is the more time they die. The small company, what? It doesn't do the same thing? It doesn't have to uphold free speech because it's a small guy? So what he's really saying is once a company gets too successful, it is now dangerous and must become a government entity because government entities have never been dangerous.
But these big tech giants have a disproportionate amount of influence over public discourse and, yes, the economy.
Yes, they earned it. Of course they have a disproportionate network, a disproportionate amount of representation, of money. They earned it. It didn't just fucking fall in their lap. They worked very hard to make their website the best website. There are other video sharing platforms. There are other social media companies. The top ones are the top ones because people like them for what they are. You are punishing them for being successful. You are punishing them for providing people a service. You are punishing them for being good at what they do. And the little guy shouldn't be punished because he sucks at what he does.
So it's about time the public reclaimed that portion of the commons to a certain degree.
It's time to rise up, brothers. It's the people's chance. Well, this is our only opportunity for free speech, is to take over this public platform. The means of production will come to us, brothers.
It's not about left, right, top, down. They mention in the story it's got bipartisan support.
Yeah, it's got bipartisan support. Both sides of the government want to shut you down. Does that make it good? It's honestly, when I hear there's bipartisan support, what I think is, ooh, this isn't good. What does the government want to do to me now? When there's bipartisan support, it only makes me think, this is going to be a really evil law. And so far it is.
Support. There are people on the left who are outraged at the censorship. They're waking up to it. They're late to the party, I gotta say. But the Electronic Frontier Foundation recently launched something called TOST.
The Electronic Frontier Foundation can get effed.
Where they said these rules are arbitrarily taking out activists. They are.
The terms of services are actively taking out activists. And he says, and they are. So the fuck what? The fucking no shirt, no shoe sign takes out most activists.
Plain and simple. Legally protected speech, regardless of left, right, center, top, down, whatever, should be allowed.
Think about what that actually means. To force a private company to uphold protected speech would mean that you have to force the private company to lose its property rights. That which allows it to have services in the first place. It is supposed to be able to refuse service. If it cannot refuse service, it is slavery. What you are either asking for is slavery so that you can get paid, or you are asking for the company to be shut down because it's too successful. All in order to be able to make money on it. You don't want to get censored, and so you kill the company so that you can continue to make videos. You're going to have to make your own website. You know that, right?
How you enforce it, we're going to have to figure it out, but it needs to be protected.
That laugh says exactly what I just said. How are we going to do it? So, as I just said, think about what that means. How are you going to do it? Instantly his reply is, I don't know how we're going to do it. Then why are you trying to force it? What are you forcing on people? You don't even know what it is.
They say Hawley's bill, the Ending Support for Internet Censorship Act, would maintain immunity for small and medium-sized companies, only companies with more than 30 million active monthly users in the U.S.
Only the successful will be punished.
More than 300 million active monthly users worldwide, and more than $500 million in global annual revenue would have to comply. However, these companies could earn immunity through external audits.
So the successful can pay for their sins by getting government approval through the FTC through a supermajority vote, which is good somehow.
Companies would have to reapply every 2 years. Listen.
You can't pay for your sins once, you see. You have to do it at least every 2 years.
I don't see how you could actually prove you're politically neutral.
Yeah, I don't see how you could prove you're politically neutral either. Especially when you want YouTube to be politically neutral so that you can put up leftist propaganda on it. And then you don't want YouTube to be able to censor you. So either YouTube has to weigh your leftist propaganda against right-wing propaganda and try to figure out if that's neutral, or they get rid of both of you. Or they get rid of both of you. In which case, now you're censored. Censored. Based on the fact that you wanted this so that it could be politically neutral. What is politically neutral?
That seems to be absurdly complicated.
What? A socialist government takeover that's absurdly complicated? Who would have thought?
They would have to basically just revert the sites to legal speech, period.
Whatever that means, they'd have to revert the sites to legal speech. So, prevent people from speaking so that they can make sure that they don't get sued. So YouTube stops becoming a video sharing platform, and the only people that can make videos now are YouTube.
But guess what? That will result in a lot of awful things people would be saying. You can't argue they're politically biased if they allow anything that's legal. But guess what?
If they allow anything that's legal, so if they allow anything that's legal, they're going to be politically unneutral because the things people put up will be not politically neutral. So by being politically neutral, they are actually allowing more in political neutrality. On political neutrality, they're making political chaos. So in order to enforce political neutrality, you need to have political chaos. In order to hold down that political chaos, you need to censor across the board.
What? That will result in a lot of awful things people would be saying. But hey, welcome to the real world.
Are you fucking serious? Tim goes on to talk about Nancy Pelosi and how she's for it. So if she's for it, it must be good. And she's for it because YouTube and Facebook wouldn't remove videos of her being intoxicated, which were falsified. There were fake videos of her being intoxicated. Because honestly, why would you even need to falsify that? Just listen to the woman talk. It might not be alcoholism, but it's something in there. There's something not going on quite right in there. So he goes on to explain Nancy Pelosi, and then he goes on to another article, and this just kind of repeats itself. So let's just break down what's actually going on here. YouTube wants to be successful. YouTube wants its property rights. YouTube wants its free speech rights. Tim says, your success is evil. Only I should be able to make a profit off of you. You shouldn't be able to be successful. Only I should be able to be successful. while using your services for free. He says nothing about property rights because he doesn't think of intellectual property as property. He doesn't think of the website as property. It's in the public, so it should be public. Just like every store should be public. Everything should be regulated. The government should be in control of everything. We got ourselves a little socialist here. Third thing is that YouTube wants to have their free speech. He doesn't even recognize this. Of course the company to him doesn't have any free speech rights. They don't get to be able to represent themselves properly. In fact, they don't get to choose who the speaker is. He says the speaker should be whoever uses their website, and they should be in trouble for whoever uses it. He doesn't seem to understand that if YouTube is forced to do that, then they're going to censor people. And if they don't censor people, then they're going to get sued for having political chaos on their website. He goes on to yell at one of the people that countered this article as a dubious liar. No, Tim, you're the liar. This is propaganda, and you know it. You're just trying to steal from people. You're always just trying to steal from people. Even your journalism is reading other people's journalism and commenting. Yes, sometimes you go out there with a camera and report your own stories, but it's too much work, isn't it? It requires money. It requires effort. And why should you have to work for your money? Shouldn't you just be able to sit there and read other people's journal articles and then come to some question on the internet about whether or not you believe that's good or bad and make a profit? Tim Pool uses YouTube for free in order to make money, in order to make a profit. He wants to make a profit so that he can live. But he does not want YouTube to make a profit because they're too successful. And the whole premise comes down to one thing. Leftists hate human life. They hate human flourishing. They do not want to see success. They want to see failure. They want to see it all the time. They want to see the big company fail, and then they want to see the small company slowly die. They want to see every single thing of value turn to shit. That's what they do.